India, a land of diverse cultures and rich history, found itself under the control of the British Empire for centuries. This period, known as the British Raj, saw India's resources exploited and its people subjected to colonial rule. However, the spirit of freedom burned brightly in the hearts of Indians. This essay explores India's arduous journey to reclaim its independence, highlighting key events, pivotal figures, and the unwavering spirit of a nation determined to break free from colonial shackles. The Battle of Plassey in 1757 marked a significant turning point in Indian history. The British East India Company's victory paved the way for their gradual control over vast regions of India. This foreign domination was met with early resistance movements. The Sannyasi and Fakir rebellions challenged British authority in Bengal. The Paika rebellion in Odisha and the Vellore mutiny further demonstrated the growing discontent against British rule. The Revolt of 1857, often referred to as India's First War of Independence, was a watershed moment. From the sepoys refusing the controversial Enfield rifle cartridges to widespread uprisings across northern and central India, the revolt shook the foundations of British rule. Leaders like Rani Lakshmi Bai, Nana Sahib, and Tatya Tope emerged as symbols of resistance. Despite its eventual suppression, the 1857 revolt sowed the seeds for a more organized and unified struggle for freedom. The aftermath of the 1857 revolt saw significant changes in the British administration of India. The British Crown took direct control, ending the East India Company's reign. This period also witnessed the rise of Indian nationalism. Educated Indians exposed to Western ideas of liberty and self-rule began to articulate demands for greater autonomy. In 1885, the Indian National Congress, INC, was formed. This marked a crucial step in channeling nationalist aspirations. The early Congress, led by moderates like Dadabhai Naoroji and Gopal Krishna Gokhale, advocated for reforms and greater Indian representation within the existing framework of British rule. The partition of Bengal in 1905, however, proved to be a turning point. This act, intended to weaken the nationalist movement, instead ignited widespread protests and gave birth to the Swadshi movement, promoting self-reliance and boycotting British goods. The Swadshi movement marked the rise of a more assertive and radical nationalism. Leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandra Pal, known as the Lal Bal Pal Trio, advocated for complete independence and championed the use of Swadshi goods and education. Secret revolutionary societies emerged, challenging British rule through armed resistance. The First World War further fueled nationalist sentiments. Indians were promised self-rule in exchange for their support in the war effort. However, these promises remained largely unfulfilled, leading to disillusionment. The Lucknow Pact of 1916, a rare moment of Hindu-Muslim unity within the nationalist movement, raised hopes for a united India. However, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919, where British troops fired upon unarmed civilians, marked a dark chapter and further intensified the demand for complete independence. Gandhi's India mass movements and non-violent resistance from 1919 to 1942. The emergence of Mahatma Gandhi on the political scene transformed India's freedom struggle. Gandhi, with his philosophy of satyagraha, or truth force, and non-violent resistance, mobilized millions of Indians like never before. The non-cooperation movement of 1920 to 22 witnessed mass participation, with people boycotting British institutions, courts and goods. The civil disobedience movement, launched in 1930 with the iconic Salt Satyagraha, further challenged British authority. Gandhi's simple act of picking up a handful of salt in defiance of the salt tax resonated with millions. Throughout the 1930s, the struggle for independence continued with various movements and negotiations, including the Round Table conferences. When World War II broke out, India's demand for complete independence intensified, culminating in the Quit India movement of 1942. The final push towards independence from 1942 to 1947. The Quit India movement marked a turning point. The British responded with brutal suppression, but the demand for complete independence was now unstoppable. Meanwhile, Subhas Chandra Bose, a prominent nationalist leader, formed the Forward Bloc and later the Indian National Army, or INA, with the support of Japan during World War II. While the INA's efforts ultimately did not liberate India, they further galvanized the nationalist sentiment. Following World War II, the Labour government in Britain, recognizing the changing global scenario and the unwavering Indian demand for independence, took steps towards granting India its freedom. The Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946 proposed a united India with a federal structure. However, this plan faltered due to disagreements between the Congress and the Muslim League, led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who demanded a separate Muslim state. The Direct Action Day called by the Muslim League in August 1946 resulted in widespread communal violence, further deepening the divide. Freedoms, dawn, independence and partition in 1947. With the situation deteriorating, the British Viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, announced the Mountbatten Plan, which proposed the partition of India into two independent dominions, India and Pakistan. On August 15, 1947, India finally achieved its long-cherished dream of independence. Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of independent India. However, the joy of independence was overshadowed by the tragedy of partition. The partition resulted in one of the largest mass migrations in human history, with millions of Hindus, Muslims and Sikhs displaced across the newly drawn borders. Communal violence erupted on a horrific scale, claiming countless lives. Amidst this turmoil, Mahatma Gandhi, the Apostle of Peace, worked tirelessly to quell the violence. Tragically, he was assassinated in January 1948, leaving a nation in mourning. Legacy of a struggle conclusion. India's journey to independence was a long and arduous one, marked by sacrifices, struggles, and the unwavering spirit of its people. From early rebellions to mass movements, from the moderates to the radicals, from Gandhi's non-violence to Bose's armed resistance, the struggle for freedom took many forms. The independence that India achieved was not merely a transfer of power, but the culmination of a multifaceted movement that transformed the social, political and cultural landscape of the nation. While the scars of partition continue to remind us of the cost of freedom, India's epic struggle for independence serves as an enduring testament to the human spirit's indomitable will to break free from oppression and chart its own destiny.